Good morning, my name is Kristin Osborn. I am a registered dietitian with the Employee Wellness Program. I'm going to continue the Food for Life discussion. In the first half, Nicole Collins talked about why following a plant-based diet is healthful, how it can lower your risks for chronic disease, including diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, some cancers, and following a plant-based diet is also very important for maintaining a healthful weight. What I'm going to talk about is how you can put these concepts into action and how you can develop a healthful eating plan for yourself. So, we've talked about plant-based diets. The question is, okay, is it enough to just be vegetarian, to call yourself vegetarian? Well, all of these foods here are technically vegetarian. They don't contain any animal products. But this is not going to set you up for lowering your risk of chronic disease or maintaining an appropriate weight. So this couch potato may be vegetarian, but he is not living a healthy lifestyle. So what do we need? What's key is just following a healthy eating pattern. Right here we have from the Harvard School of Public Health a healthy eating plate. And you can see that you want half your meal to be made up of fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it whole grains, and another quarter healthy proteins. And Nicole talked about the health benefits that each of these groups can bring us. This is the Loma Linda food pyramid, which was developed. And it's many of the similar concepts and patterns that you saw in the Harvard healthy eating plate. So there's a large emphasis on whole grains. You want to get healthy proteins from beans, nuts. Also, fruits and vegetables are taking up nearly half of your diet. Also, you want to emphasize healthy oils in a smaller proportion. And up at the top of the pyramid, we have foods that are higher in fat, which you want to try to minimize. So there are a couple different plant-based eating patterns. The typical vegetarian pattern doesn't include any meats, but vegetarians may choose to consume dairy or eggs or both of them. And vegans are people who only consume plant-based foods. So they would not even have honey or eggs or dairy. And there's different nutrition concerns for these groups, which we will go into. So just a review of some nutrition basics, things that you need to include in your diet. Protein is important, and its role is it's important for your muscles, it's important for your immune system. It has a structural component in keeping your nails and hair and skin healthy. It also has a role in your energy. Carbohydrate is another very important fuel, and this fuels your brain and nervous system as well as your body. Fats are an important source of energy, though they are very high in calories, so we only need to consume a small amount of fats. And your body also uses fat to make hormones. It helps your body to absorb certain vitamins. Fats also protect your organs. And as Nicole talked about, consumption of healthful unsaturated fats, which you will get from nuts or plant oils, can have a can be beneficial for your cardiovascular system. And we'll talk about some special dietary considerations for vegans and vegetarians as well. So getting enough protein in a vegetarian diet can be easy. I just want to point out that the building blocks of protein are amino acids. So you put amino acids together and you make proteins. Your body needs amino acids in order to function normally. There's certain amino acids, so animal products tend to have all the amino acids that you need in the right proportions. You can get all the amino acids that you need from vegetarian diets as well. However, it's important that you choose a variety of protein sources, a variety of vegetarian protein sources in order to get all the amino acids that you need. And the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says that consuming a variety of plant-based proteins throughout the day does in fact give you all the amino acids that you need. So we're going to go a little bit more into depth about plant foods, which are good sources of protein. So one of the top sources for a vegetarian diet is soy. This is one of the few plants that actually does contain all the amino acids that your body needs. So, and it's a high quality source of protein, meaning it has all these amino acids, and it's also very easy for your body to absorb all these proteins and to use them. So forms of soy include tofu, And this is a great product to cook with. It tends to take on the flavor of the recipes that you're cooking. It can also add bulk to meals. So if you're making a smoothie, you can incorporate protein in there, and you can incorporate tofu in there and get protein, and also it can bulk it up. Some other forms include just eating the soybeans themselves. That can be great in stir fries or salads, or you can even eat them as a healthful snack. Soy also contains fiber, which is going to help keep you full throughout the day. Another protein source, which you may or may not have heard of, is quinoa. This is another plant source, which is also a complete protein containing all the amino acids your body needs. This is a nice product. It's technically a seed, but you use it as a grain. So you could use it in place of rice or pasta. It has a nutty flavor, and it cooks a lot faster than rice. So this is something that you want to try out, incorporate this into your weekly meal plan. Another source of protein for vegetarians are your beans and legumes. These can be used, there's many different types. These can be used in all sorts of dishes from, you can use it in your burritos. A good suggestion is to use it in place of meat in your recipes. Nuts and butters made from nuts also contain protein, as well as healthful unsaturated fats. And because they have a high amount of the healthful unsaturated fats, these are high in calorie. So you do want to watch your serving size of nuts. Again, this is something that you can use in your recipes in place of meat. So there's an example of a rice pilaf with sliced almonds in it. Some greens also contain protein. Spinach, kale, and mustard greens are some that have a high amount of protein in them. Next, we're going to start talking about, and how about eggs? Are those a good source of protein for your ovo-vegetarians? Well, they do contain all the amino acids that you need, so they're a complete protein. And one egg has about 6 grams of protein in it, but it also has 220 milligrams of cholesterol. And the highest amount of cholesterol that you want to consume in a day is 300 milligrams. So this is showing you that for a little bit of protein, you're getting a lot of cholesterol. Compare this to having a cup of whole grain cereal with a cup of soy milk for breakfast. That will give you 11 grams of protein and no cholesterol. So the take-home message is use eggs sparingly. I wanted to show you a comparison of milks and their protein content. So you'll see that the soy milk has 6 grams, this is per cup. So the soy milk has 6 grams of protein per cup, and the cow's milk has between 8 and 11 grams of protein per cup. Both of them have good amounts of calcium and vitamin D. Now let's look down at the bottom of the chart. Almond milk and coconut milk only have 1 gram of protein in them. So you want to choose to get the most protein for your milk. I would suggest choosing soy milk or cow's milk. Now we're going to start talking about carbohydrates and their role as an energy source. So carbohydrates are important. They keep you sharp. They're your brain's primary fuel. You wouldn't be able to work or think well without enough carbohydrate. It's also what your nervous system uses for fuel. And you might notice some days if you haven't had enough carbohydrate, maybe you skipped breakfast, after a while, maybe around 10, 11 o'clock, you're going to start feeling dizzy. You might start to feel kind of anxious, irritable, unable to concentrate. That's your body and your brain telling you that you need some carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are also important for, not just your brain and your nervous system, but the rest of your body, your muscles. It's what keeps you moving. So when you are exercising at a moderate intensity, so taking a brisk walk or riding your bike fairly easy, carbohydrates are providing you with about 50% of your energy. When you increase your physical activity to higher intensity, carbohydrates are providing most of your energy. So a question to ask yourself at the beginning of the day, would you head out on a road trip with an empty tank of gas in your car? Probably not. So would you start your day without consuming a good source of fuel? So this is just showing the importance of consuming carbohydrate. Additionally, if you're an athlete or you want to improve your athletic performance, how can you train and push yourself harder and improve if you don't have the right energy source in you to allow you to push yourself. So now we're going to talk about which type of carbohydrates you want to choose, what you want to focus on. So on the left, you see the less processed types of carbohydrate, and on the right-hand side, you see the more processed carbohydrates. Now the less processed, you can basically think of as whole foods. So you see fruits and vegetables, beans, different types of rice, brown rice, wild rice, quinoa, and also whole grain pastas and whole grain breads. And on the processed foods are going to be, the carbohydrate is much more broken down. It's either already in the form of sugar, as in the soda, or we see sugary cereals and desserts. The reason that you want to focus on the less processed carbohydrates is it takes your body longer to break it down. It's going to give you a slower lasting release of energy into your body. And additionally, they contain fiber. The processed foods have had the fiber stripped away from them. And along with that, they've had important vitamins that are in the grains stripped away from them. So what exactly is a whole grain? We always recommend that you choose whole grains over refined grains for their health benefits. Well, a whole grain, this diagram shows, it contains the whole outside part of the grain. So it contains the bran on the outside, the germ and the endosperm. And all of these parts, they contain the fiber, they contain important B vitamins and minerals. And refined grains, so for instance, white rice compared to brown rice, the white rice has had all of this stripped away. So it's much lower in fiber. If you ate a cup of white rice, you would find yourself feeling much hungrier sooner than if you had chosen brown rice. And this is a good message for the consumer, just to help you identify what is a whole grain. So on the left, you see a list of whole grains, and on the right, you see a list of common ingredients which are not whole grain. It's really important that, if you're selecting a bread or a pasta and you're looking for a whole grain, it must say 100% whole, whatever type of grain you're looking for. So if it says 100% whole wheat, you know it's a whole grain. If it just says wheat, it's not a whole grain. Here's an example. So we're going to buy bread right now. And does this look like a good whole grain product? I think it does, because the second ingredient says 100% whole grain, whole wheat flour. And you want the whole grain ingredient to be near the top of the list. This also means that the product is mostly made of that ingredient. You may have heard about people trying to cut carbohydrates. What is this buzz about cutting carbohydrates? Well, it's just a diet trend. Just as back in the 1980s, it was all about eating low fat. This is just a diet trend. And I have a quote from the CDC which says that, in truth, the rise in overweight and obesity can largely be attributed to an energy imbalance that's consuming more energy than we expend. And you can't blame a single nutrient for that imbalance. So it's all about getting healthful carbohydrate, protein, and fat in your diet, but not over-consuming. Now we're going to move on and talk about healthful fats. And as Nicole discussed in the first half of the lecture, you really want to replace saturated fats and cholesterol with the more healthy unsaturated fats. And so unsaturated fats that you want to focus on include vegetable oils, nuts such as walnuts, almonds. Avocados are a good source of unsaturated fat, as are flaxseed and soy. And these are just a few examples. And it's easy to start using healthful fats in your diet. For instance, instead of using ranch dressing, you can just make yourself a nice vinaigrette using olive oil. You can start to use avocados as toppings for your salad or for your burritos. This will introduce monounsaturated fat. As I talked about before, you can start using nuts in place of meats in your recipes. And another thing you could do is add nuts or flaxseed to your smoothies. Omega-3 fatty acids are an important source of healthful fat that you want to include in your diet. It's beneficial for your cardiovascular system, it has heart benefits, and it's also good for your brain. Animal products tend to have more omega-3 fatty acids. Specifically, fish is a main source of omega-3 fatty acids. Vegetarians can get it though, and you can get it from some things that you want to include in your diet are flaxseed, canola oil, walnuts, soy, and also you can buy fortified products. So you can get soy milk or almond milk that's fortified with DHA, which is a type of omega-3. You can also, if you are an ovo-vegetarian, you can find eggs that have been fortified with DHA, which is a type of omega-3. So it's important that vegetarians are aware of omega-3 and try to figure out how to incorporate it into their diets. I'm going to go over some important vitamins and minerals that vegetarians and vegans need to be aware of and make sure they know the food sources of. So vitamin B12 is found naturally in animal products, and it's important for developing red blood cells. When you have it in your diet, it prevents you from developing anemia. It also plays an important role in metabolism and is important for your nerves. So vegans and vegetarians can find it in B12 fortified products, and this can be a really good source. So for instance, just 1 cup of fortified soy milk has 50% of your daily value of vitamin B12. Vitamin D is important for your bone health, and it plays a role in helping your body to absorb calcium and incorporate it into your bones. We get vitamin D from exposure to the sun and also from vitamin D fortified foods. And fortified foods would include milks, orange juice can be fortified with vitamin D, and cereals can be fortified with vitamin D. So, when you're selecting your cereal, this can be a great opportunity to make some healthy dietary choices for yourself. You want to select the cereal that's got whole grain and is also fortified. And some studies have shown that vegans have lower intakes of vitamin D, and this could result in a reduced bone mass. So it is very important that vegans make sure they're getting it in a supplement form. Iron is another mineral which is found in animal products and also plant products. The form that's found in animal products is more easy to absorb than the form that's found in plant products. If you're low in iron, some symptoms can include feeling dizzy, weak, decreased concentration. You're more susceptible to infection and other symptoms. So it's important that you get enough iron. And we lose it naturally through sweating. Women lose it through their monthly period, and also you lose it through excretion. Adult women have almost double the needs of men for iron. For iron that's occurring in plant products, taking vitamin C with it will help your body to absorb it. So on the list, I have vegetarian sources of iron, and on the right, I have foods that contain vitamin C. So this is important for meal planning. For instance, you can have your fortified cereal in the morning with a cup of orange juice. The C in the orange juice will help your body to absorb that iron. Another important mineral is calcium. This plays a role in bone health. And again, vegans may have a low intake of calcium. And one study showed a 30% higher risk of bone fracture in vegans, possibly due to lower intake of calcium. So these are some vegetarian sources which have a lot of calcium. Your dark leafy greens, including bok choy, broccoli, cabbage, kale, and also fortified foods once again. And I'm going to talk about zinc. This is another important mineral to support your immune system. Once again, the form that's found from animal sources is more easily absorbed from your body. So for vegetarians, you want to make sure that you're including enough zinc in your diet. Again, fortified foods like fortified breakfast cereal, fortified milks, and soy products, and naturally occurring foods like beans, peas, pumpkin seeds, and grains are high in zinc. So basically, the take-home message from going over all those vitamins and minerals are to incorporate many whole foods in your diet and make sure you get a lot of variety to ensure you're getting all the nutrients that you need. In planning nutrient-rich meals, I want you to think back to that plate picture I showed you early on. You want to focus on half your meal being fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it whole grain, and another quarter of it lean sources of protein. Real quickly, I'm just going to take you through the day and show you how easy it is to plan nutrient-rich meals. So at breakfast, you can have whole grain cereal with walnuts, berries, and fortified milk. This is going to give you all the nutrients that I just reviewed. At lunchtime, you could make yourself a peanut butter sandwich on whole grain bread that contains flaxseed in it, have a side of cherry tomatoes, and a side of non-fat yogurt. You're going to get protein, whole grains, fiber, and all of those important vitamins and minerals. And dinner, you can try out using that quinoa with kale, chickpeas, tomato, and olive oil, and a cup of soy milk. And this will also be rich in protein, whole grain, fiber, and all those important vitamins and minerals. And an important tip throughout the day, you want to make sure that you're choosing water to hydrate with. It has no calories. Because it has no sugar or additives, it's actually going to hydrate you. And this is the best drink you can have for promoting a healthy weight. And an interesting fact is that just having 1 soda per day can cause you to gain 15 pounds or more in 1 year. So in summary, it's all about a healthy, developing a healthy eating pattern. And just take another look at this plate, and best of luck to you. Thank you. Questions?
So I've heard that taking calcium supplements may not be a good thing. Can you speak to that?
Okay. I would recommend if you're not getting enough through your diet, then supplementation can be a way to get you up to the right amount.
What is the food supply for vitamin D?
What is it? Food supply for vitamin D? You can get it in fortified eggs and dairy. Also, some fatty fish contains vitamin D. But I would recommend fortified foods.
What's the DHA?
DHA, yeah.
Because you mentioned that this can be fortified places.
Right.
What's that?
So there's 2 forms of omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. And your body needs both of them. And you can get the EPA form from eating fish, but you can't get it so much from consuming plant-based foods. And what your body does is your body can convert DHA into EPA. So if you consume foods that are fortified with DHA, then you'll be getting DHA and your body will convert some of that into EPA.
Oh, okay.
I've heard some people just eat raw food, only raw food. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to that, whether raw is better or worse than...
Is better?
Yeah, with fruits and vegetables.
Right. I haven't heard any compelling evidence of why raw is better. I would just say consuming a variety of fruits and vegetables and plant-based foods should be enough. Yeah. And also, if you're consuming raw food all the time, you're going to get real full a lot sooner because it's going to have so much fiber. When you start to cook foods more, they'll break down a little bit more. And so I would kind of worry that if someone was just consuming raw food all the time, there's a possibility they could be actually under consuming calories.